Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Week 2 recap show, Week 3 preview. Jimbo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ross. Pleasure to be here. Ross out there in sunny Massachusetts. Unfortunately, we have to do this virtually, but the wonders of modern medicine and the interwebs have allowed us to continue into the Week 2 show.
That's right. And Jimbo, for all our viewers out there, you were able to say hi to the Pope today, right?
Yeah. Me and Pope Frankie spent a lot of quality time together, closing down some roads. Big moments for all of us. Frank was here. Everyone was happy.
That's good. All right, getting into Week 2, you obviously had Allen Robinson on your bench. He was able to put up 30 points. Unfortunately, not in your starting lineup. You would have won that game had he been in the starting lineup. And then Thompson takeover, losing by 0.3 points to Chooch as Chris Ivory was able to put together 7 points there on Monday Night Football. Your thoughts?
Both Jay and I have a lot of bench points that don't count for anything. I put up about 65 points on my bench, which doesn't do much for me. Brandon Marshall scoring a touchdown at the end there. If he steps out at the 1 yard line, I win this one. For me, it's been 2 weeks in a row of Monday night issues. Last week, I had Shane Vereen on my bench. This week, I flip-flop he and Allen Robinson. If I had done that the weeks prior, I would have ended up winning both those matches. So really tough for the Rat Tails to be at 0-2 when we very easily could be at 2-0. JK, another tough loss as well. Puts up a lot of bench points for himself. But Chris Ivory comes through and Chuck 2 Monday night victories in a row. So that's the difference here. We'll see if that plays a role as we get closer to the end of the season.
Unbelievable. And looking at the standings, Masturbation is the only one at 2-0 in hard times. And then in happy endings, we have 3 2-0 teams, Washington Woo Woos, Bad Blue Boys, and Survey Monkeys. And too bad for BMAC. He sits at 1-1, but he's put up a ton of points so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's just resting on the laurels of Gronk at this point, but put up, 147 last week. At this point, he's got to be the favorite to run away with the point total as long as his team can stay healthy and can keep doing the things they're doing. He had LeGarrette Blount in there who put up next to nothing and still was able to put up a grand total of over 140. So very impressive week by Byron.
Very impressive. And speaking of Byron, I am drinking a Shipyard Little Horror of Hops. I promise to finish that by the end of the show. It's a lot more tasty than Corona. All right, getting into Week 3, I'll start off with my matchup, Burgalicious versus Thompson Takeover. I think this is going to be a pretty close game, pretty evenly matched teams here. I think I have the edge in quarterback with Luck over Newton, and then receivers with Julio Jones over Emmanuel Sanders, and a couple of scrubs. He has the better running back, so I think it's going to be a close matchup. I'm obviously going to take myself to leapfrog him in the happy endings division.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take you to a little bit of an interesting move here. As you currently have Joique Bell on the bench, going with Gurley. Who we don't know what's necessarily going to happen with him, but see if it can take you to freedom. Tough luck for JK as it looks like Eddie Lacy is going to be out. Although the James Jones pickup early in the season has been huge for him. He's been a touchdown machine. So JK with a good pickup there. I'm going to go with you in this one to put you at 2-1.
2-1. Yep, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, I hope Gurley plays because he's not on the injury report. So hopefully he gets 10 snaps or so.
There have been reports today that it looks like he's going to play. How much? We're unsure.
We don't know. That's the game
Bell
I'm going to have to take. All right, so next up we have a hard times matchup, 2-0 Masturbation versus my favorite to win it all, Brendan Kavanaugh and the Fighting Frog Swamps. I think this is also going to be a pretty close matchup, but I am going to go with the Fighting Frog Swamps in this one. I think Antonio Brown continues his hot streak. I don't love Brendan's running backs. I think Masturbation has the edge there. But I think Travis Kelce and the Brown brothers will do it for the Frog Swamps.
Yeah, Dr. Frog Swamp has definitely put up a couple of big weeks. He sits at 1-1, but he scored over 100 for 2 weeks in a row, so that's a good sign as far as his consistency early on. Antonio Brown's going to do that for you. Every week he's going to be, at least 15 to 20 points, so you know what you're getting there, and there's that level of consistency. This week, I'm actually going to go with Jake. I think Brendan over the long haul has a stronger squad. This week, I like Jason Witten for Dallas this week with Dez Bryant being out. God only knows who they're going to have as their quarterback. I'm thinking a lot of dump offs, short yardage passing, so he's going to eat up some of that half-point PPR. And Russell Wilson coming back home. They're now 0-2, facing off against the San Francisco defense that didn't look too great last weekend. I think that they are going to pull their shit together, hopefully get Jimmy Graham the ball a little bit more, and they're going to take over. So I'm going to take Jake in this one. I'm going to call it an upset, though.
Wow. All right. Speaking of dump-offs, Kindergarten Cop had to get rid of a lot of his roster this week. He traded away Alfred Morris today and then also picked up Michael Crabtree yesterday. So he inserts Brandon Marshall, Michael Crabtree, Eli Manning, and is now starting C.J. Spiller in his lineup. So a completely different roster for Andy this week. He tries to rebound. Yeah.
Before you get into your picks for this, let's talk a little bit about Andy's roster here. So spends a shitload of money on Michael Crabtree, who he's had a good couple of weeks. I'm not going to, discount that.
Yep.
But to spend $76 early in the season on a wide receiver, that tells you something about his squad. He's not too comfortable. Then the trade that he makes, trading Alfred Morris and Torrey Smith, who last week had a monster game, for Brandon Marshall, who's at best a wide receiver 2, usually a flex play, and a backup running back. Seems like, he's throwing shit in the wind and hoping that it hits somebody.
I agree. Washington has been running the ball really well. Obviously, Matt Jones is getting some carries there, but Alfred Morris is still putting up a lot of points. And if a team is running the ball really well, their offensive line looks good. We'll see how he does tonight. But it's always a surprise to trade a running back for a wide receiver. So I don't really know what Andy was thinking there.
Especially this early. Very, very interesting move there. Unless there's some other pieces that he's ready to move.
That's true.
You never know with Dandy, and we'll find out.
We never know. And Andy faces a tough opponent this week with BMAC, who's been putting up a lot of points, as we mentioned. Jamal Charles, Jordan Matthews, Rob Gronkowski. Obviously, BMAC has a solid team there. So with all the question marks that Andy has in his lineup, I'm definitely going with BMAC.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Byron as well. Byron, the one interesting thing is that he's got to take D'Angelo's steak and cheese out of the starting lineup here as Le'Veon Bell jumps in. So that means he's stuck with LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette is certainly going to have his weeks. We all know the Belichick system. He's going to have his weeks where he scores 2 touchdowns and puts up some monster points, but it's just such a gamble. The thing with Byron's lineup is that he can take those gambles with a guy like Gronk, where he's going to get at least a touchdown, 85 yards receiving, 5 or 6 catches. So he's able to do that from that tight end spot. I'm in this one. A lot of movement going on for the Kindergarten Cops. I don't know if he's got baby brain or what's going on, but I'm going with Byron McNamara in this one.
Probably. All right. So then next up we have Retzelmania 1-1 in hard times versus Bad Blue Boys, who continues to surprise me with his roster. He's 2-0. Not quite sure how he's done that so far, but I think this is the week that he gets a loss. I think Snoots has a pretty solid team. He will be obviously saved by the bell this week as Le'Veon Bell comes back.
Hey, there you go.
But Matt Forte, I didn't think of that. And then Matt Forte, Steve Smith, Frank Gore rounding out his lineup. So I'm definitely going with Snoots here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Snoots as well. I actually think the Frank Gore situation is going to play itself out a little bit. He had 88 yards running last week. He should have had that touchdown that he ends up fumbling at the 1-yard line. So there's a lot of things that could have pushed him over the edge into more of an elite category. If Andrew Luck stops throwing all these interceptions, I think they're going to get back to it. They're going to struggle to a 9-10 win season, but Frank Gore is going to be a part of that lineup. So I think that having Le'Veon come into the lineup this week is going to be a big advantage for the Retzels, and I think Retzelmania takes this one.
All right, and then next up we got Washington Woo Woos 2-0 versus Grimsley Bears 0-2. I actually think this is the first week that the Woo Woos get a loss as well. I'm going to pick the Grimsley Bears in an upset. I know DeMarco Murray's a little banged up, Mike Evans a little banged up. But I do think that the Grimsley Bears will still win. I know Alfred Morris, we just talked about, is a big boost to the Woo Woos franchise, but I'm going to go with Grimsley Bears in this one.
You know what? I think we're going to keep agreeing here, which I'm surprised. Wow. I think this is going to be one of the closer ones of the week. between the Woo-Woos and the Bears. Interesting clubhouse move for the Woo-Woos as Brandon Marshall basically wins the Woo-Woos a matchup late on Monday night. He is traded quickly thereafter. So I'm not sure how the clubhouse is going to react to that. I know that Austin Seraphim-Jenkins is also out. Those are two big-time clubhouse guys. So some issues there. But they get T.Y. back in the starting lineup, so they're excited about the possibilities with that. To me, the matchup that I love for the Grimsley Bears is Matty Ice going to Dallas. To me, that Dallas team is going to be in real tough shape this week. So I think Matty Ice is going to put up some monster numbers. And I also like Dion Lewis versus the Jaguars. The Jaguars aren't going to be able to stop the Patriots. The Patriots are going to keep dumping things off and giving the ball to Dion. So I think he's going to have another big week.
All right. The next matchup, Jimbo, is the 0-2 Rat Tails versus the 0-2 Flying Macacos, a combined 0-4 record between these two squads. Tom Brady obviously starting out really well, hasn't been able to get in the win column yet. But I do think, Jimbo, this is the week to get your first win. I think Fredericksburg Flying Macacos will go to 0-3 after winning last year. The Manning-Anderson Denver duo is not helping there. Gio could play a big role this week in his lineup, and Edelman's obviously doing well with Brady, but I think that'll be hedged by you starting Brady. So I'm actually going to go with the Rat Tails in this one.
I appreciate that. A couple of real tough losses for the Rat Tails, as we discussed earlier. Could very easily be 2-0. This seems to have been the story for the Rat Tails over the last couple of years. Close matches that just don't go their way. And frankly, I think that a lot of that has to do with the coaching staff and the GM. And, so I've got to look myself in the mirror and then trying to do a little bit of a better job. I think I have to pick myself, but I actually think I'm probably going to lose this week. I actually really like Jed's team against me this week. I think AP against San Diego is going to have an awesome game. Julian Edelman has had like 4,000 catches and a bunch of touchdowns in 2 weeks. So with Brady throwing, that's great. He just can't throw it to Edelman. That's the issue. And I don't think that there's too many other options. Aaron Dropson had a couple of plays last week, but I think at the end of the day, if he's going to throw, he's going to throw to Gronk, he's going to throw to Edelman, and that's going to end up biting me in the asshole.
In the asshole, okay.
In the hole.
That's an aggressive bite. All right, so next up we got Ducktown Quackers versus the Survey Monkeys. I believe this is the last matchup to review. Yep. I think the Survey Monkeys will win this game. Ducktown Quackers, the receivers, Devontae Adams and Travis Benjamin, who's just picked up on waivers this week, is inserted into the wide receiver 2 position. It looks like he's sitting Andre Johnson this week, which is a little surprising. But Benjamin doesn't have Manziel passing him anymore, so I would go with Andre Johnson. But who am I? I think Survey Monkeys extends his win streak to 3, and I think Ducktown Quackers falls to 1-2 in the Hard Times division.
Yeah, look at Ross. We're spot on this week together.
Wow.
So not a lot of discrepancies between us. I'm going to go with the Survey Monkeys as well in this one. I think the Andre Johnson situation is a tough one for Colts fans. They bring him into Indy. They think there's going to be a lot happening. It doesn't seem to be working out. We go with Travis Benjamin into the Quacks roster. Interesting move, as you said, as it looks like Johnny Football is going to be on the bench. And quite frankly, to me, Travis Benjamin more than likely is going to have the type of season that Malcolm Floyd has been used to having in the past seasons, where has 2 catches for 2 touchdowns and 140 yards.
Yeah.
And then somebody puts him in their lineup and then he doesn't get a target.
Right.
Then he gets taken out of their lineup and he gets 3 catches for 680 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's I think Travis Benjamin has to be rosterable. Yep. Is he startable without Manziel on the lineup? To me, I don't think so. But looking at the Quackers lineups, I don't know what the other option is. You've given it a couple good looks with Andre, and at this point, I think it's time to move on.
I hear you. I think Drag should change his name to the Quackers.
Quackers.
Who do you think?
The other thing, as far as Chuck's concerned, my nemesis, I do love Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford in Denver. Or playing Denver this week. I don't know where they're playing, but the two of them as a combination going up against Denver. I feel like this is a good week for them to break out of the mold. Stafford, he's going to throw his interceptions, but he's going to find Megatron.
Yep, I agree. All right, and lastly, Jimbo, who do you think will win tonight? Redskins versus Giants.
Who you got? I think the Redskins are fucking horrible. The Giants are not looking that good early on. But I think there's plenty of things that they can work with. There's a lot of different things going on with that Giants team as they try to get Vereen into the mold while still keeping Jennings going. So I think that this week they start to put it together. The reality with that division is that you can win as an 8-8 team, so you're never out of it. And now with Romo out and Dez being out for quite some time, the division's wide open. I think the Giants get their first win. I think the Redskins realize that they're not very good, unless the Pope has blessed them. That's all we can guess.
He might have. We don't know who he blessed today.
He might have.
All right, well, there you have it for the Week 2 recap and Week 3 preview show. Jimbo, thanks. Thanks as always.
Hey, enjoy that Massachusetts air, all right? Go pick some apples for me, will you?
I will. All right, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.